Last time on Garage Insider TV with Lou Santiago, the Suburban project lost its heads. But on this installment, Lou will be installing the Trick Flow head supplied by Summit Racing Equipment. That is next.
Hey everybody, Lou Santiago, Garage Insider TV. So the next step in our Suburban build is putting our heads on. Now I've already got one on. I figured it's rinse and repeat, so I'm just going to show you guys the one. And I'm going to go through all the steps that you need to do it. But something that has to be spoken about. If you look right here on this ARP washer, there's a bevel. It's really important to note that that bevel goes up against the flange of the bolt. It's really important. Not only that, you need to put some of their assembly lube between the washer and the flange. What I like to do is just squeeze some on a piece of cardboard or something and just take a screwdriver and just dab it on there like that. And it's ready to go. And then just put the washer right on it. It's like that. Done. This bad boy is ready to go, minus one step. Now, something you want to keep in mind on these engines, a lot of engines I should say, the head bolts have access to the water jackets. So what you need to do is put a sealant on the threads. You don't have to go crazy and dunking it in there and letting it ferment for a while. Put a fair amount of sealant on there. And what that does for you is it seals the threads and you don't get the coolant being pushed through the threads, or around the bolts I should say, and seeping into the cylinders or seeping outside the engine. Because it will happen. You'll create a leak because you don't seal it. Now, ARP does do a sealer. They do that. And you can also use this stuff that I prefer. It's just Permatex Forma gasket. I've used it for years. All you want to do is take some, brush it on, and put it on there. But before we get to that step, let me get this head in place. Hey everybody, you guys need to check out the Chevelle videos, the ones that are there, because we're moving forward on it. I Got Big Brakes. That's right, the signature series from First Place Auto Parts. These are the guys you need to check out. I'm getting back on the Suburban. Enjoy. All right, now this is always a bit of a pain. Got that one, got that one. Now, the heads are in place, that's what the dowels are for. What I like to do is just take one bolt with nothing on it for right now, just put it in there, get a couple of turns on it. That way it's not gonna come off, nothing crazy. And then I'll go through and do my bolts. So just so you guys know, one time, the bolt that I put in first just to hold the head in place, I forgot to seal it. It was tragic because I always use one of these middle ones here. Next thing I know, I got a leak, can't figure out why. Had to take the whole cylinder head back off. What a pain. What a pain. There it is. You had one. And there's one more. I had to bust out the ratchet because my hands were slipping so much. So, you know, we've got no AC in here. We're old school. we'll get the bottom bolts. Make it easier till I get towards the back. Torquing is next. Hey you guys, Lou Santiago here for Garage Insider TV. I need to take care of a little bit of house cleaning. I want to talk to you about MMR, and I don't mean measles, mumps, and rubella, the shot you give your kids. I'm talking about Monday Morning Racer. So Lee goes out to the tracks, all kinds of tracks, motorsports, automotive, I don't care what it is, he's into it. And he interviews the racers, and he gets you good footage. So check it out on YouTube, Monday Morning Racer. Really cool stuff, not to mention he wears these glasses like the Macho Man. You never know, you might get him to go, oh yeah, it's the Macho Man. So check him out, YouTube, Monday Morning Racer. Okay, our next step is torquing. Now, being at its 65 foot-pounds, what I do is I torque them all to 40, and then the next round I do them all to 65. And something that I didn't tell you guys in the beginning, when you put the former gasket on there or the sealer for the threads, you want to make sure of something. You want to make sure that the block is dry, because sometimes when you're running in and his coolant, it doesn't allow the sealer to seal against the threads inside the block. So keep that in mind. And being that you're supposed to start, there is a torque pattern, so not supposed to start, there is a torque pattern that you want to follow. If you do not have the torque pattern, you want to go from the inside out. Just go in a big circle and you'll be fine. Now these do have the torque pattern on the instructions, they have it. But I'm so used to going from the inside out, that's what I'm going to go with. And that's 45. And all I did, if you notice when I was putting the bolts in, I didn't tighten them up. As soon as they bottomed out, I stopped. That way I know I'm getting the correct torque. Oh, you know what? Before I get too crazy, because I'll do this, I know I will, I'm going to mark them. What marking does for me is it makes sure that I know I've gotten it. We're done. Cool. All right, so now the next step is 65 foot-pounds. $60 and 5. Tighten. Ready to go. Same thing. Now just go through at 65. Okay, so something that I was told by a friend of mine years ago with these clicking torque wrenches. He says you never want to, when you torque it, you want to go slow, get the click, and then it releases. I've seen a lot of guys, they do like that. You don't want to do that. And I did it on the outside because it doesn't affect it as much. But what you've done effectively is you've changed the torque. When you get that first click and let it release, it's 65 foot-pounds. If your torque wrench is calibrated correctly, that's what it is. But when you pop it twice, it might be 70. And something like a rod, that 5-10 pounds over, could make a difference. And this guy knew a thing or two about an engine. He's an old NASCAR 3 for Dale kind of guy, and he builds really fast engines, all kinds of engines, and his stuff survives. But that's the little things. It's all in the details. Building an engine is 100% detail. That's what you got to keep in mind when you do it. You know, that's why you see these engine builders, they have rooms that are like operating rooms. It's all about details. In the dealership world and all that, it should be more critical, but it's not. I mean, I've worked in dealerships and guys just throwing stuff together. As long as it gets out the door, they're getting paid, they don't care. So just keep that in mind. Follow the steps and you'll be fine.
Next time on Garage Insider TV with Lou Santiago, it's the oil pan, hydraulic roller camshaft, and measuring the push rods for this 1983 Suburban project. Next time.